Now, this is going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this. I am really looking forward to this. So, it's not only become the top 25 in college football that actually makes sense, it's become the top 25 that creates the most controversy and the most criticism of me. Deep Rod, how you doing? All right. So, I thought, you know what? I'm going to cut a video response with my reaction to your viewer comments on my top 25 that actually makes sense if you think about it. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a live stream and nobody's going to watch it because it's at 3:00 in the morning on a Sunday night, Monday morning. But we've got a few people online and I will get to your comments. But I'm going to address the comments that have been written, which currently stands at 121 comments. 121 comments in about 12 hours or less to my top 25 that actually makes sense. People, let's not take this too seriously. Let's not take it too seriously, people, because I've stated over and over and over and over and over that this is not a perfect poll. It's not a poll. It's one man's poll, the voice of college football. And it's not perfect because they've only played a certain number of games, first of all. So after everybody's only played one game or two games or three games, you know what the difference is in resumes between these teams? Most of it's about that much. Think about it. All right. So I've clearly stated this is not a ranking of the 25 best teams in the country. This is not the 25 best teams in the country. These are the 25 teams that have the best resume right now after 3 games. There's a difference between those two things. I'm not thinking, for example, Florida's not really looked that good, and they're probably going to lose. Yeah, they'll lose to LSU, and they'll lose to Georgia, and they may lose to South Carolina or Missouri or somebody like that as well. They're going to lose 3 games. So, yeah, I'm going to drop them down. No, too many people make rankings that are basically predictions. They're not, and they're based on their perception from the preseason. These rankings are based on what we've seen on the field, and I will explain. There are 3 basic ingredients here. Number 1, what are the results on the field, meaning the final score of the game? The winner and the loser. Point number 2 is the performance. So, for example, last week, Ohio State beat Indiana 51-10. I'm going to judge and evaluate and rate that 51-10 win over Indiana on the road more favorably for Ohio State than I would had they won the game 30-28. They performed better. Okay. First, most important is the win. Number 2 is the performance. Number 3 is the opponent. And through 3 games, we have certain football teams like Georgia would be a good example. They have not played anyone with a pulse. They've not played anyone with a pulse, so they're going to take a hit in the rankings. But they have been dominant. The result has been 3 wins, so that places them at a certain level. And then secondly, their performance has been dominant. A lot of decent teams play the competition that Georgia has over the last 3 weeks and beat them 42-21 or 35-13. No, Georgia has beaten them, 60-7 and 65-0 and scores like that. So Georgia has pounded them. The win versus the loss, the result. Number 2 is the performance. Number 3 is who did you play? Therefore, there are some teams that have lost games like a Texas that are going to be higher rated because they performed well in the loss against a really, 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 really good team. For example, I'm not going to take Baylor at 2-0 and rank them ahead of Texas just because Texas has a loss. Because Texas played one of the best teams in the country. I believe we can all agree on that. And took them to the final minute. Same with Oregon. They are 2 examples. So let's get that straight. And again, If anybody tells me so-and-so is going to lose in a few weeks and you're going to look stupid, I don't care. That has nothing to do with it. This is how rankings work for anyone. Go to your AP poll, go to your coach's poll, take any week in any year and look at the rankings and then find who is going to lose that next week. And you know what? Voila, they dropped in the rankings. Isn't that a novel idea? Unless, of course, they were number 20 in the country and they played number 1 in the country and they played them really close, then you credit them with the performance. All right. And I never said that the rankings were perfect. I made a statement and pinned it to the top of the comments section. And it's funny to get the response from people because people take it way too seriously. Okay. Yes. This is the channel for hardcore college football talk for the smart fan. And I joke at times, again, take the little sarcasm that if you're not the smart fan, we still welcome and invite you and we're going to educate you. And when I say that, do I mean that? Yes, for some of you, I do mean that, but with a little sarcasm too. So just let's be okay. All right. I'm going to get to the comments. And again, there's no perfect formula because you're judging teams based on 3 games. You're judging teams based on 3 games. Therefore, you have to judge the quality of the opponent. Case in point, game number 1, Auburn beats Oregon. How good is that win? Well, was Auburn's win over Oregon any better than Ohio State being FAMU? Well, we all assume. We don't know. We don't know for sure. Maybe FAMU would turn out to be better than Oregon. But we have to make some assumptions. So there have to be assumptions made. And then as we progress through the season, there are less and less assumptions that need to be made as there becomes more data. This is how it works. All right, let's get to the comments. Okay. So I pinned at the top after I read a lot of misguided comments, and other comments are fine. If you have an issue with my 25 and think 23 should be at 18 or 8 should be at 12, that's fine. That's why we're here. But if you're like, this is the stupidest thing I ever saw, you clearly don't understand what I'm doing. You clearly didn't understand last week after Maryland played 2 games and completely annihilated 2 opponents. And yes, one was basically a high school team. I get it. Then the other one was Syracuse, who, based on the polls that many of you trust in, said Syracuse was one of the 15 best teams in the country. Right? And then Maryland beat them by 43 points. And then, of course, I heard how I didn't know what I was talking about because Maryland wasn't that good. Well, at that point, based on those 2 games, I was not making a prediction. If you want to see my predictions, check out my preseason predictions. I said Maryland would go 6-6. That's what I think of Maryland's football team until I see otherwise. That's what I think of Maryland's football team, 6-6. But when they start 2-0 and they score 1 million points, and one of those 2 wins is by 43 points over a team that's ranked in the top 15 in the country by a poll that most of you believe in, then I'm going to rank Maryland high based on 2 games, not based on preseason perception or what we think they're going to do against Ohio State or Michigan. All right. So I made a comment here and pinned it to the top. I see I'm going to have to continue the education. And people took offense to that because, again, do I truly believe that? To a certain extent, more an education on my system. But I'm kidding. Let's have some fun. Don't take it that personally. It's fine. So we've got Michael chiming in, big Buckeyes fan. So just because we disagree with mostly bad list, we're stupid. Okay. Didn't say you were stupid. Stated several times in each video that if you disagree with the list, absolutely, it's not a perfect list. Boise State's 23. Maybe they should be 20. Maybe they shouldn't be on the list. Why is there a list of 25 teams anyway? What's so magical about 25 that we can't rank 26 or 27 or 28 or 130? Why the drop off? That if you're number 26, you might as well be number 130. You're in oblivion. Somebody just made up the number 25. Actually, somebody eventually or initially made it the number 20. If you know the history of the polls, it was the top 20 until 1989. Then it became the top 25. So magically, 5 more teams became relevant in college football. So let's understand a lot of this stuff is just made up. So that's Michael. Lance Sanders, the mental gymnastics you must go through to make this list is astounding. All right, Lance, I put thought into it. So let's say if I just threw darts at the wall, then you would be mad because the list wasn't well thought through, because I would think that you would want to watch a college football channel where there was actual thought put into the product. So I would think that. Secondly, let's not overrate how much thought I did put into it. I put about 15 minutes of thought into it. I wasn't dice. I basically look at who everyone beat, and for those teams that lost, how many games they lost and who they lost to. And make sure then when I see, okay, when I place all the teams and I move them around, it's not like the first draft of 25 is, oh, that's good. Then I look and say, you know what, 18 and 13, that doesn't make sense that they're because they beat them. Duh, 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 duh. Yeah, it's a process, but no, I'm not sitting here for 14 hours working on my top 25 list. I put a good 20 minutes into it. So Lance, please don't be too concerned about my mental gymnastics. Okay. I guess I love this here. Any chance to prop up the SEC though? I guess this is your audition video for ESPN. Lance, if you only knew my situation, this is what's ironic about it's just funny. It's just funny. That's all I'll say. It's hilarious when people make comments like that. ESPN's been paying me for 18 years. All right. Tay Kemp. First things first, educating oneself is greater than educating another. That's quite profound. Josh P. Ha ha ha. Okay, Mark, you continue, and I will most definitely be back to check it out. Morbid curiosity. Okay, just so you come back, Josh, and comment. Oh, George. Thank you, George. All right. So George is responding back to Michael. Michael's the Ohio State fan who was offended because I said everybody was stupid or whomever was stupid, which I didn't say anybody was stupid. George says, now you're dim-witted, and that has nothing to do with everybody else. And he also says, when you're dim-witted, it does seem like mental gymnastics, but to normal people, we love it. All right. Tay Kemp comes back and says, I'm an LSU fan, and this is horrible. At some point, your eyes got to tell you something or nah. Okay. And then there's a couple of replies to that because I don't really know what that means. George says, come on, George. You really think Florida is a contender for the playoffs? Probably lose to Georgia, Auburn, and LSU. Season over. If they beat Auburn and LSU, get back with me. Again, this is not a prediction. It's a ranking based on what's transpired on the field through 3 games. It's not a prediction of what's going to happen with Florida against LSU and Georgia. You know what I'm going to do? After we do this live stream, and I apologize to anybody who's on the line right now and would like to ask questions or make comments. I'm not reading them right now because I'm going through these comments. And I just did this as a live stream to be lazy because I don't feel like producing a video and editing and uploading and doing all those things. So this is what I'm going to do. Maybe this will make some people happy. These are my rankings of the top 25 teams in America based on the 3 games that they've played. Okay. Do we all get that? I'm going to produce a video maybe tomorrow I'm going to rank the top 25 teams in the country based on what I think. Based on what I think. Do I think Florida's the 5th best team in the country? No, I don't. But they beat Miami at a neutral site. They won at Kentucky. I know they didn't perform that well, but they've got the results. And then they annihilated UT Martin. And I would argue that that resume, for example, is much better than Ohio State's. I don't believe that Florida is better than Ohio State. I believe that beating Kentucky on the road and Miami at a neutral site is more impressive than beating FAMU, Cincinnati, and Indiana. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Florida's better than Ohio State. I'm saying they have the 5th best resume. I'm going to produce a video where I'm going to tell you who I believe are the 25 best teams in the country. It will be my personal rankings. These are the 25 best teams, 1 through 25. We'll see what kind of response that gets. Okay, Michael, this list made little to no sense whatsoever. Oh, it makes absolutely no sense. So Clemson should be out of the rankings, and Georgia and Ohio State and Oklahoma, they should be out of the rankings. And we should put in Duke, Purdue, and we could throw Kansas in there. They lost to Coastal Carolina because, yeah, that would make a lot more sense. And then Michael got 12 replies. I don't know that we can weed through this. LOL, Auburn at 3. He's an Auburn fan, so I understand now. Biased. There is no spell check on these comments, is there? I think there is, actually. You guys just don't use it. Okay. I am biased. Everything. I'm a big Auburn fan. I'm out of the closet. I'm a huge Auburn fan. Enormous Auburn fan. Always have been. And if you haven't been able to tell, now you do. Because there's such a difference right now after 3 games that I rank Auburn number 3, and everybody's okay with the AP ranking them number 8. Like there's no way to even make that debate. Okay. Everything Tech 87 also says, also, why the heck is Ohio State ranked 9th? If anything, I could make a better debate and a better argument that Ohio State should be ranked lower than 9th than I could that they would be ranked higher than 9th. They've beaten Indiana, Florida Atlantic, and Cincinnati. Do you really think they should be ranked 9th? Michael, I was wondering that too. Admittedly, I'm biased, but we're top 5 at this point. Based on what? Beating who? Why is Ohio State in the top 5? George, letting some other people know that they make no sense and that they're confused. George. All right. Michael McFarland, typical pathetic Florida fan. Your team, in quotes, I think they are a team. I think we've well established that everybody playing in FBS football has a team. We don't need to put that in quotes. It's not like a reference to something else. Your team is pathetic. You almost lost to Miami. Okay. They beat Miami. Miami's not horrible. I think most college football observers would say that Miami's probably the 30th to 40th best team in the country, something in that range. So that's a decent win. I don't care that Miami's 1-2. You still think you're in the Spurrier and Meyer eras when you plummeted. Okay. 10-0. Everything Tech 87. He's not an Auburn fan. LOL. Luke. No, he's not. He's a Buckeyes fan. Lance, no question. We haven't played anyone, but we have sure as hell taken care of business. Absolutely, Lance. Taking care of business. You're 9th rated in the country, according to MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Nothing wrong with being 9th in the country. Don't worry. The schedule will play out. You'll have your chance to raise the ranking. But beating FAU, Indiana, and Cincinnati is not going to vault you to the top of national rankings here because it's not based on the perception in the preseason. Michael, that's what I thought. It threw me off here when he said Mark was an Auburn fan. Michael also says, I agree you guys have taken care of business. I just got riled up by the other fellow. Okay, Lance, I meant the Buckeyes. Anyway. Okay, Casey Thompson. Florida, really, they will get killed by more than one SEC team this year. Casey, again, I'm not making predictions. My rankings are not predictions based on what's going to happen in the future. They're based on what has happened through 3 games. Yardvarks Lawn Care. Sorry, I lost most of your videos. Thank you, Yardvarks. Love most of your videos, but you have to include eye test, talent on roster. Oh, we're going to include the recruiting rankings. So we need to raise Florida State. We'll put them into the rankings because of their talent on the roster. Tennessee should get a nice boost. We'll lift them up there. UCLA, their recruiting classes have been between 15 and 25 in the country. The current roster at UCLA is comprised of recruited classes between 15 and 25 in the country. So we should, UCLA at 0-3, they should be ranked. Excellent point. Well done. Okay, Brian. Sorry, still makes no sense, but again, love your channel. Brian, hey, if it's not getting through and I've not communicated it effectively, but you love everything else, hey, you're not going to love everything on here. I thoroughly respect and admire and understand those people that say, you know what? I watch your channel. I love most of it. Some of it I don't understand. Some of it I disagree with you. Some of it I think is boring. Some of it I think is stupid. Some of it I think is garbage. But I like half of it or 80% of it. So I subscribe, I watch, and I don't watch the stuff that I don't care about or that I don't like. I would think that there would be value in that. Then I have some people that comment that for a long time they liked everything, and then one video offended them, and they said, "I'm unsubscribing because I didn't like that. I really liked your channel for 6 months, and then I saw one video and it offended me, or there was one thing that's you said or somebody else said that offended me, and I unsubscribed." Which is, of course, you're right. Go right ahead. Hardwired to self-destruction. We're still fighting from being a dumpster fire. Number 5, after yesterday's performance, I do believe we're better than people think, but we got some major hidden internal problems I see. Auburn, number 3, LOL. So he's talking about Florida being ranked at number 5 by me after yesterday's performance, question mark. So do we truly believe that if we took the AP poll at the end of the season and looked at the top 5 teams in the country, that every performance from those top 5 teams would be exquisite? Johnny Rosado, I thought it was supposed to make sense. George, it doesn't make sense to autistic people. Nothing against autistic people. It is probably the vaccinations. Johnny comes back. How is LSU the number 1 team, yet they would be underdogs on a neutral field again? Really? Now we're ranking teams on Vegas odds, on the Vegas line. Okay. All right. That's good. That's really good. We could do that. And basically let's wipe out all of last week's results. So Purdue and TCU was a toss up. I need some water. Was a toss up. And TCU won by 21 points, but that doesn't matter. It was a toss up. Vegas said it was a toss up. TCU won by 21 on the road, but Vegas said it was a toss up. So Purdue's just as good as TCU because Vegas says if they played, it would be a toss up. Forget that TCU beat them by 3 touchdowns. So because Vegas says that LSU would be an underdog against Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State, we need to rank LSU below those. Okay, I got it. Excellent. Well done, John. We are not going to play the football season. Let's not bother with that. We'll ask Vegas what the betting lines are, and then we'll rank the teams. Oklahoma at 16 makes 0 sense. Anyone with a brain could tell you that they are easily top 10. Of course, they beat South Dakota, they beat UCLA, and they beat Houston. Of course, they're in the top 10. The eye test and roster talent. There comes again that roster talent quotient that we need to use in ranking teams. We better use the roster talent measurement. That's very important in ranking teams. Yes, ask Bill Snyder how effective the roster talent was for him in finishing in the top 10 in the nation all those times. He had 75th rated recruiting classes that finished in the top 10. Man, so we should have ranked them 75th, I guess, even though they were going 11-2. Mark D'Antonio, you have finished in the top 5 to 10 in the nation 5 or 6 times, but none of those teams were recruited in the top 5 to 10 in the nation. Oh, so we should have. Why was your 12-1 team ranked in the top 5? Oh, they should have been ranked 40th because that was the recruiting ranking. Yes, I got it. So why don't we just take the composite of the 4 years that these rosters are comprised of, and those will be the recruiting rankings. And again, Florida State's going to make out in this. This is the best news that hit Willie Taggart in a long time. We're going to start ranking these teams based on the talent on the roster. Excellent. Nice job. Which is why the Gators, of whom I love, are not a top 5 team. The only benefit is that they've played okay teams. Oh, we're going to think about the teams they actually played. We're going to consider how good they are. No, let's not do that, John. Ooh, you were on the right path with the roster talent. You were on the right path when you focused on the roster talent is how we should rate the teams. Let's not even consider who they play. The last comment that one lost me. All right, Jason, I like this guy. LSU number 1. Brian, OSU at 9. What did I miss? I don't think you missed much. You got it. Ohio State number 9. You missed the other 24 that I ranked 1 through 8 and then 10 through 25. That's what you missed, Brian. Okay. Michigan hater. Here he is. Yeah, honestly, what the F from a pissed off MSU fan, y'all have dominated 2 really solid teams. Lance, it's not what you have missed, it's clearly what he has missed. Yes, thanks, Lance. Lance is certainly a proponent of my system. Border Bob, please keep ranking Clemson behind LSU. Let me continue to laugh harder than Bobby Durkin's videos. Slapstick comedy still works. George. George, George, George. God bless you, George. George, he's just laying down the law, putting the hammer down left and right on these people. I'm sorry, this is just way too deep for you. Border Bob comes back. I guess so. I can't think at swamp level. It's beneath reigning national champions. Oh, our intelligence is always determined by the team we root for and how good they are at playing football. Well done, Border Bob. Hunter Anderer. This actually makes 0 sense. What a terrible list. Again, it makes 0 sense. Yes, Clemson's number 2. They should be like 38. Sure, Alabama, we should drop them about 40 spots. It makes no sense. We should bring in UAB should be ranked in the top 10. Yeah, that would make sense. It makes no sense. Auburn, number 3. You've got to be joking. Frost Nixon. You still have Florida in the top 10? Have you watched Florida? Yes, I've watched them twice. I failed to watch the UT Martin game. I apologize for that. Didn't watch that one. Watched the other two. Auburn was dominated by Oregon for most of the game. Imagine how fast that game would have been over had they had 4 or 5 of their receivers back. Oh, that's what we need to do as well. Let's go through the injury list for every team and speculate on how good they would have been if they would have had their injured players. That's important to do that. Ducks 2019. LSU should be 1 or 2. They are most proven so far. Okay. There's a reasonable comment every so often. George, Florida is guilty of just winning. Ducks 2019. This is based on who has proven themselves the most, the way it should be. We have a winner. Ducks 2019. I have never seen your handle before, but you've commented 3 or 4 times here. And you know what? It's tradition. Welcome to MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. I can see that you root for those Ducks of Oregon. I would love to know how long you've been watching and where did you get your sensibilities, Ducks? This is based on who has proven themselves the most the way it should be. I should use that as a slogan. That actually. Oh, and I commented back. Thank you, sir. Somebody gets it. It's not perfect, but it's logical. It's not perfect. I never said it was perfect. Yes, we could argue all day. Should Boise State be 23 or 20 or not even in the should Alabama be 2 or 4 or 6 or it? But there's thought given to it. Okay, Derek Bryant. How could Texas be 12 and lost to LSU by 1 touchdown? I would at least think they are 10, maybe 11. Yeah, I really messed up there. Yeah. Yeah, they should be 11 instead of 12. I'm sorry, Derek. Yeah, that was a complete misjudgment on my part in ranking Texas 12 when they should have at least been maybe 11. Thanks for the correction. Cleve Ard, I'm pretty sure that you only looked at the Florida-Kentucky box score. Anyone that watched that game, as well as the game against Miami, came away thinking that Florida has some serious work to do. I am not measuring what these teams need to do on the practice field. You can go to practice, see what they're working on. I'm going to go by the results on the field. Florida's 3-0. They beat 2 pretty good teams. There's only been 3 games played in college football. Therefore, there's hardly any teams out there that have beaten decent teams. There's not a whole lot of them out there because we haven't had a whole lot of good games yet. You understand that, right? Who's Alabama beaten? South Carolina. Okay, they're okay. So, yeah. Salty dog. And if you want to know why Alabama's ranked so high, it has nothing to do with them being Alabama. It's not the name, it's that they have completely dominated their opponents. And they're 3-0. Salty dog. How does a team that played like crap be at number 5? That does not make sense. Florida should not be in anyone top 15. And some people need to stay off the internet. Okay. So for some reason, me ranking Florida at number 5 offends a ton of people. People just have a serious issue with this. They're number 5 in the country. I believe they're number 9 in the AP poll, but people are fine with that. 9? This is the 9th best team in the country because most people view this as a ranking of who are the best teams in the country. I rank it as a resume. But for some reason, people get offended by number 5, but not by number 9. Okay, Timothy Norton. Dude, you did the complete opposite of what makes sense. You just post some random top 25 and that's it? No explanation of why the teams are ranked, where they're at. Such a donkey. You know nothing about football. Timothy. Okay. Timothy, I invite you and I will give you a personal invitation, Timothy. Timothy Norton. I don't know what you look like. You've got an egg head on your avatar. But Timothy Norton, I would enjoy a college football conversation with you to prove how ignorant and stupid I am and know nothing about football. Please come on my show. You have a personal invitation, Timothy Norton. I will send you a link. You can come on. We will discuss college football. We may even have the folks in the live chat ask us questions. We could have the folks in the live chat ask us both questions to test our college football knowledge. Why don't we do that? And you could just I will shut down my YouTube channel immediately after you just run me through the mud. After you just lay waste to me, I will shut down my YouTube channel. All right. Sarge1231. I thank you for not putting my Clemson Tigers at number 1, and I hope the AP and coaches poll soon does the same. I say this for purely selfish reasons. As you know, the last 4 years for Clemson have ended after playing Alabama. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. College football fanatic. Why did you drop us? Just curious. Okay. So there is a common question, and I understand this question. And after I answer this, I'm going to respect everybody in the live chat, and I'm going to answer your comments because you've been with me at 3:00 in the morning. So this is a Virginia fan wondering, okay, why did you drop us? We just won. Okay. The first thing is I don't look at last week's rankings, so it's not a hierarchy. It's not. My best example of this is the 2004 national championship race. At the beginning of the season, USC was ranked number 1, Oklahoma was ranked number 2, Auburn was ranked number 19 in the first poll. So what do you think happened when those 3 teams went undefeated? Because this is the mental capacity of the people doing the rankings. Even though Auburn played in the best conference in the nation and played the tougher schedule, well, USC was 1 and Oklahoma was 2, so you can't move them. Doesn't matter how good the performance is. And so Auburn hit a ceiling and they couldn't get any higher. I don't do that. If let's say Missouri's 20. Forget the teams I'm throwing out. That's inconsequential. Missouri's 20 and Virginia's 21. And Virginia goes and beats the 5th ranked team in the country. And Missouri struggles against a 3-8 team. Well, yes, I'm going to move Virginia past Missouri. I'm not going to intentionally move them and just look at those 2 teams, but in my rankings and filing the teams and all the results, they will automatically eclipse them because they were only 1 spot behind, and I'm looking at the complete season. The complete season right now is only 3 games. So I'm not saying, oh, Virginia won, but they looked ugly and it was bad, so I'm dropping them. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not dropping Virginia. I'm ranking them again this week. Does that make sense? Maybe it was not well explained, but I am not moving teams up or moving teams down. I'm just re-ranking the next week. So for Virginia, did they have an impressive win? No. Did they have a horrible win? No. They beat Florida State by 7 points at home, and the game came down to the last few seconds and a play at the 4-yard line. So Virginia didn't look mighty impressive against a pretty bad football team. But I'm not penalizing them for that because they basically did what they should do. Although it would have been nice had they been a little bit more impressive against a Florida State team that's been atrocious for a year and 3 games now. But I didn't intentionally drop them. I re-rank the teams every week. Josh P, for the first time, Alabama and Clemson are in your top 5 and actually deserve to be there. Wisconsin didn't even play and they made your top 10 question mark, question mark, question mark. No, there's no question mark there. They did. In fact, Wisconsin did make my top 10. So I'm taking it, Josh, based on your comment here, is that anyone who has a bye needs to drop in the rankings. Because Wisconsin didn't play last week, I'm supposed to move them down. Texas beat the heck out of Rice. Okay. That's number 12 worthy. Certainly not as good as Wisconsin, though. Okay, I've got Texas at 12. I have Wisconsin, I believe it. I have Wisconsin at 6, I believe. And I don't get your point. But you say great job in here, Mark. So I guess you're coming around here at some point. LSU beat a team that is 0-3. Okay. So yeah, that's like the best win. Huh? Wisconsin LSU beat a team that is 0-3. So yeah, that's like the best win. Great job, Mark. You are killing it. Do you make these rankings while you are awake? I'm just judging by your criteria. By the criteria you give, your rankings make absolutely no sense at all. So confusing. Okay, what's confusing is trying to read this mess of what you just wrote because I have no idea what you're talking about here. So Josh, uh, yeah. So I appreciate you watching. Uh, Mark is just trolling folks. Yeah, because of course that's my style. I'm out there trolling people on social media because that's I have nothing better to do. Maybe views needed a little boost on the channel, so he just decided to make videos that confused and irritated people. It works because I keep coming back to see what crazy thing he threw in this week. George, thank you. You're overthinking it. George, again, in his special way, seems to know exactly what to say to these people. You can say a lot of different things about my channel. The one thing that you cannot say is that I have never posted any kind of thumbnail or any kind of title or produced any kind of video for clickbait sake. We provide excellent analysis from myself and bloggers and broadcasters and writers, and we cover these teams thoroughly. Just check out the videos. Maybe it's even boring to an extent because it's so thorough and so nuts and bolts football. It's boring to some of you, and that's fine. Go watch somebody else. But do not consider it clickbait. Never, never accuse me of clickbait because I could go on. You know, it would be easy to make up titles that would shock people and thumbnails that would shock people. That's what clickbait is. And come on here and rant and rave all the time. That's not what I do. So accuse me of a number of things. Do not accuse me of that. All right, let's get to the folks' comments. And if you would excuse me, this is going to be quite embarrassing, but I had to take out my contacts and I don't know where my glasses are. They're still in my car. So I'm going to be squinting at the screen so I can get your comments on the screen here. Let's see what we got here. We'll start from the type. Okay, we'll start from the top with Deep Barat. Yeah, I'm awake. You're awake. I'm awake. Where's Miami? Uh, Adam's at the hospital. How many are on the line? 19 on the line at 4 a.m. Volunteer Roadshow. Volunteer Roadshow, if you are still on the line, and I know that I'm reading comments from an hour ago, but I would love to talk Tennessee, Florida this week, so you could come on and talk volunteers. Adam, the sports guys in Pensacola. All right, Deep Rot. I'm thinking of betting $3,000 on the Texas Oklahoma game. That would not be wise. All right, Volunteer Roadshow. I'm up late. Just finished Florida Hate Week video. Good stuff. Let me also let everyone know that what I plan to have available starting on Thursday morning is going to be a text message with all my week 4 predictions. So, what you will do is you will text football. The keyword is football, not football, football to 474747. 474747. Do not do it now. Don't do it until Thursday because then I will have my predictions available, my week 4 predictions. Or if you want to win some money, talking about winning money, I went 13-8 against the spread this last week. I'm 44-28 against the spread, and that's not even selecting games that I really want to select. So understand that my prediction record could be better if I just hand-picked games like most people do. I just pick all the games, all the top 25 games, plus any other games outside the top 25 that I deem relevant. I pick them all. So that's 44-28 against the spread. That will certainly make you money. It has me this year. So you can get my predictions down in the description section below. It's not there right now because we're doing a live stream. But in the description section of any of the videos, if you go next to the comment Voice of College Football Community, grab that link, sign up, and get my predictions on a weekly basis. Plus a lot of other exclusive content. All right. And then, since we've got Volunteer Roadshow possibly still with us, we also want to let you know that we've got a partnership with Volunteer Roadshow with St. Jude's Hospital, betnow.eu. Their link is in the description section below. And what you want to do is grab that link, go to betnow.eu, use the promo code MRTVCFB, and you get double your money. They add 100% to your money. If you throw in $50, you'll voila have $100. You throw in $500, whew, you got $1,000. You're way ahead of the chains, ahead of the sticks in the betting game. So again, you use the link in the description section below. You're not going to be able to find it right now on this live stream, but it will be posted very soon. And it's in the description section of all my videos. You can go to the Voice of College Football Community and sign up right there for my weekly predictions, plus other exclusive content. And yes, get my predictions and exclusive content there. All right. Miami would be a favorite over Florida tomorrow. Blue Word Lover. Hi, Mark. It's early, but I figured that I'd see what this was about. All right. Blue Red Lover. Blue Red Lover. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And this arm now gets in the way of my big windup. We appreciate you stopping by and welcome to the channel. Would love to know who you root for. And maybe because you just got up and saw a live stream, maybe you don't even like college football. I have no idea. But appreciate you jumping on board and certainly invite you to the channel. Check out the videos. And I believe that if you like college football, then this is your spot right here. All right. A lot of betting talk. Prince, 6'1". Boy, you boys get up early, don't you? 4 o'clock in the morning. I will let everyone know that I believe our first 45 to 50 minutes here were quite entertaining. I had a good time, at least. Reading off the comments from my reaction, the reaction to my top 25 that actually makes sense. And so if you missed that, wait for this video to post, as it will in a few minutes after we're done, and then you just watch the rest of the video. But I'm trying to go through the comments here, and I don't have my contacts in. Antoine Johnson, most of the rankings work themselves out by the end of the year. Antoine, yes, absolutely. What you just stated there is 90 some percent true. Now, at the end of the year, there are certainly still biases. And there are biases with all of us. So we understand that. But I mean, ridiculous, um, not easy to defend bias. So the rankings at the end of the year for anyone, the AP poll, the coaches poll are pretty accurate. I do call into question a few things here and there. I have found some illogic in the final rankings, but generally I would agree to a 90% extent with Antoine Johnson on the final rankings. Zachary, hi Mark. Just got back from Mississippi from Saturday's game against Kansas State. What do you think of Kansas State after 3 games? Well, I almost ranked Kansas State. They were probably 27th or 28th. I was watching 3 or 4 games at noon. So Kansas State, Mississippi State was one of those games. And at one point in the game, it looked like Mississippi State had, because of their athleticism that we saw on display the previous year in Manhattan, beating Kansas State 31-10. But of course, Mississippi State lost all that talent, Jeffrey Simmons and Josh Sweat in particular up front along the defensive front. Kansas State played extremely well at the line of scrimmage. Mississippi State still has more athletes, but Kansas State won that game at the offensive line and defensive line positions. And I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock in their 2 previous wins, except they did not in any way struggle. Many times we see mid-tier Power 5 teams playing FCS or a low group of 5, and they win the game, but they don't look impressive. They win by 15 or 20 points. Kansas State just drubbed its first 2 opponents, and now they play Mississippi State, and they win on the road after losing by 10 in the second half. I'm impressed. So there is that comment from Antoine or from Zachary. Appreciate the comment. If you guys understand what we're trying to do here, it's build the best college football channel in the universe. And some people think we've already accomplished that. And I don't say that in a bragging way, just some people are very complimentary of the channel. And that's because of your contribution as well. It's not nearly as good as it will be. But that also has to do with, for example, tonight I'm doing a live stream at 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't just get out of bed and decide to do a live stream. No, I was working for 9 or 10 hours at my place of employment. I came home and I'm doing this. So just imagine, keep under consideration that many of the people that do this and have a YouTube channel, have a website, this is what they do full time, full throttle. It only seems like I do this all the time. I am pouring 50 hours a week into a job. So if I could do this all the time, can you imagine what this channel would be? Can you just imagine? Catch the vision with me. Catch the vision here at the Voice of College Football. So that's why we've got the super chat available to you. And also, I'm going to be communicating my Venmo and PayPal. I should do that because that takes out the filtering process of any contributions to the channel. All right. Oh, somebody's calling. Let's see if this is one of you. course it's one of you. The call will start at the beep. Hey, it's Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Yo, Mark.
Oh, man. Deeper Rod's calling me at 4:14 in the morning. Oh, my goodness.
My goodness.
I knew not to take this phone call.
You picked up.
I don't believe I did either. My phone was like over on the couch buried. I just heard this buzzing over there. I went and grabbed it.
But if you had to guess, were you about to guess it was going to be me?
Oh, I could have. I don't think my mind's working at that level, especially after reading all those comments. I don't think that it is. So I'm just going to let you talk for about 5 minutes and probably have no response. But go right ahead.
Okay. So yeah, man, I am like very, very excited for this upcoming next few week stretch. Not just because of the games that are coming on, right? I mean, but I think the real meat of the schedule for a lot of these big top 10 matchups are going to come on. Obviously, Notre Dame, Georgia next week. But for me, and obviously you're well aware, there's a big rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma, and Texas is playing Oklahoma in the Red River Shootout. And a lot of these Oklahoma
Is that what they call that thing? Like, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's called the Red River Shootout right now. I mean, historically, it's been called the Red River Rivalry.
Deeper Rod. What's up? I'm kidding. You were educating me in the Oklahoma Texas rivalry like I had no idea what it was. So anyway, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yes, a lot of these, like, I don't want to say they're like cocky Oklahoma fans, right? I mean, I understand they're like a really good team and all, but they're willing to like wager thousands of dollars that Oklahoma is going to win that game. And they're literally willing to give me like 3-1 odds or 4-1 odds. And I mean, I don't want to say that I'm like kind of clicking on the bait. I've already agreed to a couple of bets. I've made a couple of comments on the chat thread. But do you think it's like a very lucrative payout? I mean, I don't know if you're into sports betting or you get into it.
You don't know if I'm into sports betting. Deeper Right, you watch me all the time. I have my predictions available at a link. Yeah, I am. I went 13-8 against the spread. So you are telling me, if I catch this correctly, and while I'm listening to you, I'm looking at the comments here. So maybe I missed this. Texas plays Oklahoma in a few weeks, in which I consider Oklahoma to be slightly, very, very, very slightly better. But this is a toss-up game to a certain extent. And you're telling me that there are people out there that are willing to give you 3 or 4 times your money for Texas.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, they're complete morons. That doesn't mean that they're not going to win the bet, because it's an all or nothing proposition. But we both know that if these teams could possibly play, if it were possible to play 100 times, that Oklahoma's not going to beat them 4 times to the number of wins that Texas would win. It's just, over the course of time, your odds are so much better than theirs, but we don't know. It's only one game. But yes, you have made a far better play than they have. It's not even debatable.
Yeah, so here's the ongoing bet I have right now. I have with 2 Oklahoma fans. One of them offered me 3-1 odds 2 weeks ago, and one of them offered me 4-1 odds just after the OU UCLA game.
Yeah,
the bet is that I give $1,000, and they're willing to give me 3,000 and 4,000 respectively. So that would be a $7,000 to potentially $7,000 surplus for me. And yes, I would lose, potentially $2,000 if I do end up losing. I just think it's a ridiculous bet, and I just said, okay, I'm all in, and we agreed, and the payer gets through Venmo and everything, but I mean that's a lot of dough. I mean, again, I have nothing against some really passionate fans, because OU fans don't really like Texas fans, and Texas fans probably don't like OU fans, and it's a pretty heated rivalry. But I mean, I thought it was pretty good odds, so I just thought I'd share that with you. But according to you, I think that's a decent bet, right? I mean, it's not a bad bet.
It's a sucker bet.
You can lose that.
It's a sucker bet. These people are, I don't know them personally. They might have an IQ that's twice the size of mine, but based on that decision on their part, they either have money to burn, meaning they just don't care. They have so much money it doesn't matter. They're just playing around with it like it's monopoly money, or they have absolutely no concept of odds and numbers and math. They don't understand. And again, what would be
I mean,
funny, what
people
would
people in
be
Oklahoma are very passionate about their Sooners. Though. Like, that's like the only sports team they
well,
have.
that's one
I
of the
mean, they have
stupidest
like
things you can do though, Deeper Rot, is bet based on your passion and your fandom. I'm not out running around putting $2,000 on Ohio State every week just because I'm Buckeyes fan. It's just
uh,
oh,
but you got to
unless
understand,
unless
like they don't
unless
like
people
Texas.
that would be the bet you were making. Maybe it's not quite to this extent, but it would be like people betting me even odds for the first 3 weeks of Ohio State season of them playing FAU, Indiana, and Cincinnati. Yeah, there used to be a guy in high school that I would be able to, Ohio State would be playing Minnesota that week, and they'd be like a 27-point favorite, and I'd be able to talk him down to like 7 points. And and this happened like every week. So this is similar to what you're doing. So regardless of whether
I
these
mean,
Oklahoma fans
I just
win,
look at
you
it
have
this way.
made the much better play. It's not even close.
Okay, okay, cool. If I ever meet with you randomly in person, or you're ever like in a particular setting that I meet with you, I'll buy you a round of drinks or food or whatever. If I win this bet, if I win this bet. If I lose this bet, that's okay. Like, I mean, yes, I lost this bet, but at least I lost it to it, like a very fun cause. Speaking of which, last question, then I don't want to, let you go to bed or answer other comments or whatever you have, but how much do you typically wager on these games? So like a few $100, a few $1,000? I mean, just out of curiosity.
So what I typically do is I have a bit of a system, and so I just like to play it out. So for example, this past weekend, I played the 21 games that I predicted in the top 25. I went 13-8 against the spread. I put $50 on each game.
Okay, so you're more like a mathematics type of guy. Like
Yeah, I'm
you
not
like
just
to like
just
spread your wagers because it's very hard to beat the spread all the time, even in like particular games, I guess.
sure.
But I mean, there's some real, I don't want to say passionate people out there, but there are some like real hardcore people, like on Twitter, on all sorts of like social media channels that are like willing to openly bet such ridiculous odds because they believe their team is just going to steamroll. And I get it, Oklahoma's a good team, but I don't think they're like. I think that Texas has a legitimate shot of beating Oklahoma at least once this season. Maybe not twice, but I think once is a very good possibility. So let's see what happens. I'll definitely be, obviously, I love your show, so I'll be in and out,
Yeah, I
regularly. But
appreciate it. And as you can tell, I'm just trying to get people to throw me $5. And when I say that, it's people need to understand I'm doing this because I'm passionate and love college football, but we're also building something here. And the $5 is for a subscription over at what we call our Voice of College Football community, and that's where my predictions are. And I'm not an odds maker, I'm not a professional, but again, 44-28 against the spread will make money, easily make money. It's like 61%, 63%, something in that range. So it's well above what you need to do to make money. You need to hit about 53% against the spread to make money.
and do you bet like every weekend, basically?
Yes.
No. Okay, so you're like really into this. That is like
Again, I'm not some
next
professional
level.
that's sitting here crunching numbers all day. That's
No, no, you have a job.
well, I do have a job, and then I also do this where I'm not uh, doing that in particular. But yeah, so yeah, it's
Yep.
fascinating.
And how far are you on the goal of doing this full time? Just out of curiosity.
Oh boy,
What
that's
was
a
your
loaded
last question?
question right there. I'm not very close, but I've made a lot of progress. I've made substantial progress in the last year. Let's say I'm making 4 to 5 times more money today than I was at this time last year doing this, but it's still nothing close to what I make at my real job.
Right, right. But I mean, it seems like you're trying to turn this into a venture of some sort. So I
Absolutely.
don't
I
know if
wouldn't
you're
be sitting here at
trying to
4
get.
o'clock in the morning otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, some people are just passionate about college football too, right? I mean, but
Well, absolutely.
appreciate you
That's
taking the.
y
Yeah,
the
go
the
ahead.
best advice, some of the best advice anyone will give is to say, "Don't chase money, don't chase a particular venture because you think it's gonna be a gold mine." You need to because once the grind sets in, you're not gonna be willing to grind it out. You need to go chase and do something that you're passionate about. So, yes, the college football portion of it has a ton to do with it. I love college football. I I I think that's pretty obvious. But yes, if all there was to this is talking about college football and not making a penny, I wouldn't be doing it to this extent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you're absolutely. I'll say you're absolutely nuts, but I think you're absolutely passionate about what you do to do it for so long at such regular portions of the day. Like you pretty much put out several videos every day. And that takes a serious type of dedication, man. Like I don't see any type of YouTuber that close. You know, there's a couple of other ones I really like, but I think you're definitely my favorite. So I want you to know that, Mark. I
I
appreciate you
appreciate it.
taking my call,
Absolutely.
and you have a lovely work week ahead.
All right, Deeper Rot. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Deeper Rot putting some serious money on the Longhorns. Hope it works out for him. Edward, I like Mark Rogers' top 25, but Florida number 5 is a joke. Edward, I appreciate the compliment. I appreciate your support. I also just want to reiterate I'm not ranking Florida as the 5th best team in the country. I just believe at this point they have the 5th best resume. Okay. 5th best resume, not the 5th best team. And what I think I'm going to do is maybe this will clarify what I'm doing. Later today, after I actually get a couple hours sleep, I'm going to rank the top 25 teams according to me. These rankings that I'm delivering are, of course, from me and determined by me, but based on the team's resumes. Oklahoma, 18th. Do I believe Oklahoma is the 18th best team in the country? No. I believe that they've played UCLA, South Dakota, and Houston. They've played a garbage schedule. Therefore, they have not substantiated that in any way except by obliterating those teams. Houston gave them a decent game. I believe Oklahoma is probably the 6th or 7th best team in the country. So when I do my rankings, I'll do them later today. I'm just going to say, this is my power poll, my power index. This is what Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, believes are personally the 25 best teams in the country in order. And I would say right now, I think Clemson's the best team in the country. I think I still think Alabama's the second best team in the country. I think either Georgia or LSU's next. I think the other one's right there, and then Ohio State's right there. I think those 5 teams are the best teams in the country. Those are the teams that I believe are the 5 best teams in the country. The 5 best teams in the country are in some order, and I'll figure it out. Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, and Georgia. I believe those are the 5 best teams in the country. I believe right after those teams, you've got Oklahoma, Texas is in the next 5 to 6 teams. There's really nobody in the Big Ten right now, based on what I've seen out of Michigan. They would certainly be the next candidate, or would have been, but based on what I've seen in 2 weeks, I don't know that Michigan's there. Nobody else in the ACC is there. The Pac-12, do they have a top 5 to 10 team in the country? I may be staying in the SEC with Texas A&M and Auburn. If we're talking about just not a resume, just who do I believe, who would I put trust in? It's similar to, do you guys remember, and you do, you're college football fans, 2011, who played in the BCS championship game? Alabama and LSU. They had already played for the SEC Western Division Championship, de facto championship, and LSU won the game 9-6. So there were college football fans, me included, saying, what's going on here? We've got another one-loss team, Oklahoma State. They are not being given an opportunity. The other conferences in America had 2 lost champions, which it's a stupid system. They should be in a playoff anyway. But it was what it is. It was what it was, and it is what it is now, and it's still a bad system, but at least it affords 2 other opportunities. Okay, my point is that I remember showing up at work the next day at the Worldwide Leader, and I showed up at work the next day, and there was all this controversy. Alabama, LSU finished 1 and 2 in the BCS standings. LSU won, Alabama 2. And people were asking me, should Alabama and LSU be playing in the national championship game? And I said, no, they shouldn't. And then people were like, you don't think they're the 2 best teams in the country? And I went, whoa. They are the 2 best teams in the country, but they shouldn't be playing in the national championship game. They've already played. And if we had an objective playoff system, I would have no issue with a rematch, because the system and the structure of the system would have determined that 2 teams made it through a playoff and met for a rematch. It happens all the time in the NFL. Is there an issue with 2 teams rematching in an NFC championship game or in the Super Bowl? Do people go crazy about that? No, because there was a logical, objective system in which those teams played in the regular season, and then they, based on the results on the field, got into a playoff format, and then they ran into each other again. But there's no controversy because they had to earn their way there for the rematch. But in this case, we just picked these 2 teams. Boom. We want to see them play again. And Alabama and LSU, I firmly believe to this day, were still the 2 best teams in the country. And Oklahoma State was not. They may not even have been the 3rd best team in the country. But they won a conference championship with only 1 loss. Therefore, they should have been afforded the opportunity to play for a national championship. So does that make sense? It's kind of like my rankings. I'm not ranking the 25 best teams in the country. I'm ranking the 25 best resumes. Who has earned those rankings? If you want to hear who I believe are the 25 best teams in the country, then stay tuned, and I will deliver a video later today, most likely, or tomorrow, with my personal rankings of these are the 25 best teams in the country. If somebody held a gun to my head, or I had to put my mortgage on the line, and that's what I said to these people during the Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma State year of 2011. Oklahoma State should be in the BCS National Championship game. But if I had to lay my mortgage on the line between Alabama and Oklahoma State that year, and you said, who's going to win a game between those 2 teams? So I'd put my mortgage on Alabama. But they were given their opportunity. So again, maybe that's the best way for me to explain the difference between my resume rankings and what I will deliver later as my actual personal thoughts, feelings, metrics, whatever you want to say about who the 25 best teams in the country are, regardless of what they've shown us on the field thus far. The 2015 Ohio State Buckeyes were the most talented team, and they never pulled it together for 10 or 11 weeks, and they lost a game to Michigan State that kept them out of the playoffs. And I still will say to this day, they were the best team in the country. I will also say they did not earn a playoff spot because they lost to Michigan State, who won the Big Ten. But was Ohio State better than Michigan State? Oh, they were so much better than Michigan State. I noticed that overall, Ohio State fans and Florida haters will be overall happier at the end of the year. Good point, Scott. Where's the Citadel? Winners over Georgia Tech. You're not supposed to be awake. I'm not supposed to be awake. Nobody's supposed to be awake. Mineral Tim 79. And there it continues. Antoine, mark your explanation will not reach most of these people, even though you explained it multiple times. Edward, hello. Good to see you, man. Thanks for the support. You guys know the super chat's on. Mineral Tim 79. The channel needs a sexy female assisting. If you have any in mind, certainly let me know. MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Predictions. Dang, you're up late. Yes, I was working till 3 a.m. Antoine, all you have to do is that with Clemson or Alabama with their cupcake schedule and their elite recruiting, not to mention name recognition, each of those teams only have one chance of losing every year. We've got Michael Wilson on the line. Good to see you, Michael. Are y'all really on here doubting Mark Rogers? Now, there's a wise man right there. Thank you, Michael. Mark Rogers doing this is a job. It sure is, man. Oh, man, we got to get that off, Michael. Sorry. Yeah. Michael likes Oklahoma in the Big 12. Florida has played good teams. Yes, they have. And anything else on here? Michael, you are crazy if you think Texas is about to beat OU. The offense and defense is better. Texas defense took a hit. Man likes Ohio State third. Michael, Ohio State is definitely in the top four. They can only beat themselves. Or if I'm reading that correctly, Michael, 3 other teams could beat them. Michael likes Oklahoma to go undefeated. This is basically the Michael D. Barat show here for quite some time. I promised everyone that I would get into the live chat here, but I don't see anything else to address. And I think we've pretty much made it all the way down to the end. We got Danny Yu on UCF. I think UCF played a Stanford team that's probably the worst Stanford team that we've seen in 10 years since mid Jim Harbaugh's reign. Stanford was a top 5 to 10 program for those 5 years, and then Christian McCaffrey and crew left. They've been more than 9-3, 8-4, top 20 range over the past few years. But based on what we saw against Northwestern, even though they won that game, and then most notably against USC, getting run out of the Coliseum in the second half, and then losing to UCF badly, that Stanford's not very good. So, unfortunately, as we discussed with Jeff Sharon from SB Nation this past week, UCF is not going to get a whole lot of credit for that win, even though it was a dominant win. They were up 38-7 in that game. I think UCF's a top 15 to 20 team. All right, I've made it through all the comments. And again, if you're catching us live, this was just the easiest way to do this. But the reason I jumped on here was to answer what at the time was 121 comments on my top 25 that actually makes sense. And I didn't make it through. Let's see if there are any other interesting comments. If you missed it, you probably missed the best 40 to 45 minutes was at the top. So wait for the video to post and please check it out because there are a number of people that are taking me to task. And so I'm counterpunching. James Warner, who I always appreciate his responses, but James certainly gets after me at times. Is Mark from Florida? Because if performances played a factor in the rankings, Florida shouldn't be in the top 10. Goodness, dude, what were you thinking? I agree with LSU at number 1, but Auburn 2? Okay, James, I can't respond to your comments when you don't watch the video. So you are responding to something. You understand that you are responding to something that's not factual. I produced rankings this week. You are responding to outdated rankings, apparently. Those are not my rankings, James. So I can't comment on something. It's one thing when my words are taken out of context or aren't understood, or maybe I haven't communicated effectively. It's another thing when people tell me that I said something that I didn't say. I don't know how many people over the last few weeks, especially after Michigan stumbled against Army and looked awful, reminded me that I picked Michigan to win the Big Ten and go to the college football playoff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I mentioned it during the off season about that I was leaning that way, that I was considering it. But my college football playoff predictions and my conference championship predictions are there for everyone to see. They were produced just a few days before the season. We did a full special for a couple hours. All my predictions are right there. So do not criticize me or call me out for predictions that I didn't make. I did not predict Michigan to win the Big Ten. And maybe they will, and I'll be wrong. Zoom play. Your ranking is better than the AP polls. I'm happy that TCU is in the ranking. They have one of the best defenses and offenses in the country. Tim Tebow was right with his prediction. His pick for the college football playoff was Alabama, Georgia, TCU, and Penn State. Really? I'm smoking rock. Gator football fan. Mark makes sense. Name 2 wins better than Miami and Kentucky on your resume. Gator football fans. Exactly. What team out there has 2 better wins than Kentucky and Miami? I'm waiting. I'm sure somebody does. Let's see. Or maybe not. Yeah. Who does have 2 better wins than Kentucky and Miami? Maybe you could argue that North Carolina does with Miami and South Carolina, although they lost. So that's the knock against North Carolina is they lost to Wake Forest. And I don't think that South Carolina is better than Florida or better than Kentucky. Probably not. It's close. Yeah, it's a great point there, Gators football fans. Nobody, I'm not coming up with that team that has 2 better wins than Florida. And so, yes, Florida did struggle in 2 of those games. They struggled in those 2 decent wins. That's why they're number 5. Otherwise, if they were dominant or decided in those victories, I would rank them number 1. But they weren't. So they're at number 5. Thank you for validating my rankings. Nice Guy TV. I like LSU pick at number 1. They look good. Again, people are responding unless I'm on the wrong week here. Are these the ones I just released? They are. I don't know why I'm checking. Yes. People, for some reason, they are responding to the current rankings video, but they're using the video or the rankings that I had from last week. So if you're going to respond to a video on YouTube or any video anywhere, please respond to the video that you're actually commenting to. That would kind of make sense. Michigan hater. Florida dumb. What a joke. Doesn't this guy live in Florida? The Florida Gators are trash. With do you think you're watching? Go watch. This is beautiful. This is the intelligence that we're dealing with right here. Florida dumb. Clever. LMAO. What a joke. Doesn't this guy live in Florida? The Florida Gators are trash. With do you think you're watching? Go watch Uncle Lou. There are these little dots. We call them periods. They separate statements. It's a little bit more complicated than that if I actually explained sentence structure, but I don't think you could handle that part of it. So basically, just think about when do you want to take a breath? And maybe you don't. It probably just flows out of your mouth, and that's why it makes no sense, is because it's just a stream of consciousness all the time, Michigan hater. That's probably your problem, is that it's just a stream of consciousness that never stops. Therefore, there is no periods in your vocabulary, because in your speech there are no periods, but they do exist and they separate statements. Again, we're not going to get into sentence structure because that's going to be way, way beyond you. Eugene Cummings makes sense to me, LSU. Jordan Callahan, perfect. Okay. Thank you. MB Logan, this top 25 is total insanity. You have a top 5 team at 18. Bah ha ha. Okay. You understand that that top 5 team is from another ranking. So that would be like going to the AP poll and telling them, you got Oklahoma in the top 5 and they're only an 18th ranked team. What are you doing? Bah ha ha ha. Oklahoma's beaten 0-3 UCLA, FCS South Dakota, and Houston, who's 1-2. When Oklahoma beats someone and their resume determines that they should be rewarded because they have earned a top 5 ranking, they will be ranked appropriately. Why is this so difficult to understand? M. Stewart, I would flip LSU and Clemson by what I've seen in the field, but good poll, Mark. Thank you. Where is Michigan at? They didn't quite make it, MH. George, from now on, Florida is their air raid offense, and once that happens, OMG, the running backs can go crazy. Okay. Lance, another SEC punk. Bye-bye sub. See you, Lance. And we'll end right there. Thank you so much for joining. I will check out the live chat one more time to see if there's any comments or questions that I missed. This is a special edition of Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, at 3 a.m. in the morning. And now it's 4:30 in the morning. Make that 4:49 in the morning. Mineral Tim 79, run on sentences. It would be kind to call those sentences. Thumbs up for doing a freaking live show at this something hour. Mineral Tim, thank you so much. I would like everyone, 26 people currently in the live chat, please like the video, even if you disagree with me. If you enjoy what we do and like what we do here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those good things to help build the channel. And you can also support the channel in the super chat. You can also support the channel by going to the link in any of the description sections of the videos and click on the Voice of College Football Community. You may have heard my conversation with Deep Barat about college football predictions and betting. You will get my college football predictions. I'm 44-28 against the spread. You will get my predictions at the Voice of College Football Community. All right, everyone. Until next time, whenever that is, thank you so much for joining this impromptu live stream at an ungodly hour. We will see you soon at the Voice of College Football, Mark Rogers TV.